So before putting this slide together, I asked a few people to tell me what is the first word or phrase that comes to mind when I say robots. My sister said mind control and arms, and my boyfriend said the Terminator, and then used that to make me watch the first 2 movies with him as research. But what I realized is that all of these had one thing in common. They related to humans, and this is probably because there are over 100 years of pop culture making robots seem either human-like or also evil. And whether they are made of human flesh or metal, androids appear over and over again, which is why I decided engineering sounded pretty cool. And also, you just sound dumb saying, "Trust me, I'm an engineer." No one says that. But what I've realized since then is that roboticist labs do not look like they did in Iron Man. It's actually quite the opposite, especially when we're using robots in the environment for scientific purposes. Using robots that do not look like humans allow us to reach areas that are either too dangerous or too difficult for humans to get to, such as deep sea exploration. And they also can collect environmental data more accurately and more efficiently than humans. And so I, one summer, went to India to fly unmanned aerial vehicles, or quadrotors, to collect hydrologic data in a region where water availability was a serious issue. And it was fun being the tall, white female from America with the flying robot because we developed a posse. And it was fun, but when the robot decided not to work, it was a little bit embarrassing. And I didn't actually realize how much of an issue this was when, looking back at the pictures from this, the robot was on the ground in probably 90% of the photos. But eventually, we did get Shirley. We name all of our robots girl names. This one is Shirley. Up in the air to finish out the project and collect all the data we needed, and maintained our street cred as the crazy Americans with the flying robots. And after that, I was done with flying robots for a while. Thankfully, the second part of the project, we used a boat that we brought over. And after arriving to India, we thought it would be cool to mount a sonar instrument to the boat to collect bathymetry data in some of their lakes. It sounded easy enough. Mount this to the boat, drive it around. Until you realize that you're in rural India and there are no Home Depots. So we hacked it completely. We ended up using a Coke bottle that we found in the streets to counterbalance the sonar, and we shoved it all into packing foam that we literally found in a dumpster and held it all together with orange duct tape because go Illini. But it all worked fine until one day we drove the boat out of range of the controller, and thankfully this local fisherman was kind enough to paddle out and fetch it for us. And he also realized that we were video recording all of the data, and he posed for a pretty sweet selfie that we found later after watching the data. So this is another robot that I helped build to drive up and down rows of sorghum and take pictures of the plants to identify the best performing plants and eventually accelerate the crop breeding process. Her name is Esther. And Esther is still a prototype. She's not fully autonomous yet. So being the grad student slave laborer, I got to drive her around the sorghum forests and collect all the data. One Friday in particular, we were going out in the field, and I really wanted to be done by noon so I could drive up to Chicago to visit a friend who was in town for the weekend. So the goal was to get in early morning, and get out, be done by noon. But Esther's a prototype, so some things went wrong. And that day in particular, some wires got crossed, and a medium to large size electrical fire started in our lab, and there was some panic, so I didn't make it to Chicago that day. And earlier, when I said that I was done with flying robots, I completely lied. After coming back from India, we had to take Shirley out for another run to do pavement imaging for early crack detection at a small airport. So we got her up, she was flying, taking pictures, doing her thing, and for some reason, on this particular day, Shirley decided that she had enough. And she fell from the sky, crashed to the pavement, and that was the end of Shirley. R.I.P. So clearly, working in field robotics has not been without its difficulties, to say the least. but I've learned to enjoy it, and one of the main reasons why I enjoy it is I get to work with an amazing team of students and people from around the world, and we collaborate and get to solve these problems that arise when you bring technology from the lab into the field. And also, working in field robotics has taken me to places that I never would have dreamed of visiting before, such as South India, and meeting people who live lives that are completely different from the way we live here, which is something that I really treasure. And also, probably one of my favorite things about being a grad student in robotics is getting to take simpler versions of our technology and do outreach activities. To this day, there's still a severe lack of women in STEM, and I know myself and other passionate grad students really hope to change this. And it's also been shown that when you bring robots and get kids engaged with science, they're really more passionate about learning these STEM concepts. And you know you're doing it right when, after doing outreach with Girl Scouts, you find out that the girl after the activity wrote, "Robots rule," on a clipboard. And they do, I will agree, robots rule. But I'll say with confidence that as long as Arnie is still around and still training, they will not rule the world. Thank you.